If Jurgen Klopp uses this tactic, Liverpool will dismantle Man United this weekend in the FA Cup. But before we jump into that tactic and how Jurgen Klopp will look to utilise it, let's have a look at how both teams will potentially line up this weekend. So let's start off with United. So United will look to set up in a 4-4-2/4-2-4, similar to how they did against City, because City and Liverpool, they adopt the same approach. They look to press you, keep you pinned within your own half, and United will look to break on the counter-attack. And the 4-4-2/4-2-4 is a compact formation. Except against City, McTominay played, but because Højlund is likely to return on injury, he will start up top alongside Bruno Fernandes in this shape. So Liverpool will likely set up in their usual 4-3-3 formation. The fullbacks, they don't pick themselves anymore because there's a lot of injuries and a lot of players in and out of form. So you could go with either two out of Gomez, Robertson, Bradley and Tsimikas. The midfield three will look to be McAllister, Endo and Elliott. Yes, you may be saying, why not Szoboszlai? He's the big money signing, he's a brilliant player, but he has struggled in a lot of big games this season. He struggled against City last weekend, and he struggled against United back at Anfield in December. So I don't think he'll play it. I think Elliott's been in brilliant form recently and has been playing a lot better, so he'll slot into midfield, and we'll go about how he will be brilliant in this system, where he will be interchanging with other players later on in the video. But you're probably wondering, where's Darwin Núñez? So I think Cody Gakpo will start up top this game, mainly because United sit deep. Darwin Núñez relies on, well, doesn't really rely on, but he favours space in behind, and United won't offer him a lot of that. Whereas Gakpo is better in the tight spaces with their little 1-2s. He prefers the ball to feet. And in the video later on, we'll go into exactly how Gakpo will be pivotal alongside McAllister, who is obviously on the thumbnail at exploiting and breaking down Man United. So the other weekend, City stifled Man United with the clever movement from their midfielders. Rodri and Stones, they sit as a double pivot in City's midfield with De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva in front in the half spaces. But the way City changed their tactic against United was really interesting. Rodri and Stones, they tend to sit deep and they don't really tend to make marauding runs into the back line and really out of their position. They're sort of fixated to that central area of the pitch. However, against United, we saw Stones and Rodri make runs in behind and drag Bruno Fernandes, drag Scott McTominay out of position and confuse the Man United midfield. Kobbie Mainoo and Casemiro were tasked with marking De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva. But when they've got John Stones and Rodri making darting runs in behind the defence, and they're almost sort of stuck there thinking, who do we mark? Do we go with Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne now, or do we follow our man and get dragged out of position? It created a bunch of confusion, and this clever movement from City's double pivots was evident in Foden's second goal. So Rodri, he picked up the ball in a sort of more advanced position than we'd usually see him, and then he laid it off to Foden and made a darting run in behind Man United's backline, which dragged Scott McTominay with him, which allowed Foden to cut inside and drill a beautiful shot into the top corner. When do we really see Rodri in those positions? We rarely do. He's a lot deeper. That's the sort of run that you see De Bruyne or Bernardo Silva make, that penetrating run in between the backline in sort of the right half space / right channel. So it was very interesting to see Rodri in that position. And in Foden's first goal, we saw it with Stones, but in a different way. He was occupying Kobbie Mainoo, but in a very advanced position. And Foden's clever, intricate play with Alvarez saw City score their first goal. So effectively, Rodri and Stones played in between the lines throughout the whole entire match. And I think we'll see Jurgen Klopp adopt a similar approach this weekend. So just like how Rodri and Stones confused Man United's backline and midfield, I think we could see the same approach from Klopp, but slightly differently with Endo and Conor Bradley. So Endo, he usually stays in this position. He doesn't really advance forward much. Conor Bradley will sometimes invert or get down the flank. However, I think we could see them take up a different approach this game and make runs directly through the centre of the pitch and switch with the likes of McAllister and Elliott to create confusion. Say this is Bruno Fernandes. He's choosing to mark Endo. That's his man. Casemiro is marking McAllister. That's his man. If McAllister decides to drop in because he's clever, because he has played in the six before, he knows that position, Endo can push forward. And that just creates confusion because Endo doesn't usually play in this position. Why is he up here? And McAllister's dropped there. So then they're thinking, does Fernandes follow him? Or does Casemiro follow him? Who sticks with who? That creates confusion. And if they choose to swap, then there's gaps in Man United's midfield and defence that Liverpool can exploit. But if they choose to stay with their man, then they're getting dragged about all over the shop. And then they're becoming disjointed and the cohesion isn't there. So if Endo's making runs in behind the back line, that could completely confuse Man United's structure and setup. And if Endo's in this position and McAllister's in this position, we could see the same on the other side with Bradley and Elliott. Bradley tucks in. Man United thinking, all right, we've got Conor Bradley, he tucks in. If he goes out there, maybe Rashford marks him. So Højlund or Fernandes, whoever's in this position, is tasked with marking Bradley. Bradley makes a direct run through the centre in the same way that Rodri or Stones would. Does he follow him? He's not too sure. He gets confused. Then we see maybe Elliott drop into that space to cover. Does he pick up him? Does he pick up him? They're confused, and it creates the similar sort of effect that we saw City create against United the other weekend, where Rodri and Stones, with those marauding runs, they were just constantly losing their markers and making the Man United backline think, who are we picking up? So Elliott and Bradley and Endo and McAllister, I think, can interchange effectively. It's not just those four that can cause chaos for Man United this weekend. Cody Gakpo can be an integral player. He's a more intelligent player than Núñez. He prefers the ball to feet. So let's say all of these four Man United midfielders have got their man. Well, Højlund, if you count him in this defensive shape. Højlund's got his man. Fernandes has got his man. Kobbie Mainoo's got his man. Casemiro's got his man. They're on McAllister, Endo, Elliott and Bradley when he tucks in. Cody Gakpo drops into the equation. He's a free man. Liverpool then have a 5-on-4 in the midfield and they have the numerical superiority. They can pop balls around, they can play triangles within the midfield and break their way through Man United's structural system in the central area and eventually create chances in and around the box. And then you may think, well, won't the centre-back just follow him? Yes, he may. But then if he does, then you've got Elliott and McAllister who can make blind runs on the inside and be found by each other, and then there's so much space in the box for them to create chances and score goals. So the defender will probably look to cover the space and try and stop that, which then means, like we just said, Cody Gakpo is a free man dropping into midfield and Liverpool have the numerical advantage. And even if Conor Bradley is over on the right hand side and Cody Gakpo drops in, then it's a 4-on-4. And as you know, even though it may be 4-on-4, 4 players with the ball is better than 4 players without the ball. So Liverpool have a ton of options playing this system and playing this shape. And because Salah and Diaz are so creative, United will probably look to put 2 men on them. Johnny Evans is not going to mark Luis Diaz on his own. He needs the support of Diego Dallo. Lindelof is not going to mark Salah on his own. He needs the support of Rashford. And that also limits and stops United on the break, which Harvey will lead into in just a moment. But before we touch upon that, I just want to say that against City, Kelleher played a pivotal role where we saw him become part of that back three, which allowed Liverpool to push more players at the pitch and condense the pitch down even more. And against City, that worked. So against United, if Kelleher came into the equation, if we brought in Kelleher, just a moment, let me just grab him. Yes, he wouldn't be on the halfway line, but imagine this is in his own half. Then we could see maybe Liverpool become even more advanced up the pitch and push up and condense United in. And then maybe you're thinking, ooh, Konate may be offered as a passing option. Do I pick up him? But then Conor Bradley's free. Or Van Dijk's got the ball over here. What do I do? Who do I mark? It creates even more confusion. So there's many options for Liverpool. Robertson running down at left-hand side, keeping Garnacho busy. Bradley on the right-hand side, bombing up and down. Rashford is tempting to go out to him, but he doesn't want to leave Lindelof with Salah. Bradley tucking in, and Gakpo dropping in, creating a numerical advantage in midfield. And obviously Gakpo playing triangles with McAllister and Elliott if he chooses to stay in this position, along with him interchanging. And as McAllister's in the thumbnail, you can clearly see he will be the most important man in this system alongside Gakpo, because he can swap with Robertson if Robertson comes inside. He can then swap with Diaz if Diaz comes inside. He can swap with Endo when they choose to do that clever little interchange movement in and around the central areas. And he can swap with Gakpo and make runs into the box. Yes, Elliott will do much the same, but McAllister is a more well-rounded footballer. We've seen him adopt many more of these positions and we've seen him play in so many different roles for Liverpool. So that's why I think he will be key, and he will be key, Cody Gakpo, this weekend. But anyway, let Harvey explain how United may look to play through Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp's strategic plan.
A solution for Erik ten Hag is going to be extremely difficult to see, and I don't know if we will see it, because based on his past encounters with Jurgen Klopp, we haven't seen much from Erik ten Hag in terms of a solution. He did well at Anfield, to be fair, but this is a different Liverpool system that Xhaka suggested here, and if Klopp is to employ this, it's going to be extremely difficult with the players that ten Hag has, and just sort of the tactical nous that ten Hag has. I don't see him stopping this. But one way he can stop it is with Marcus Rashford. If Marcus Rashford bombs on forward and gets in behind the Liverpool defence, then perhaps he can exploit that space in behind, because as we know, Liverpool played extremely high line. That's why Kelleher's so far up. So perhaps Rashford could exploit that. But then that leaves you with Salah one-on-one with Lindelof, which Lindelof, even against an average Premier League winger, we have seen him completely flop. And if he's against someone like Mohamed Salah, I think Salah will completely destroy him. And especially if Conor Bradley comes over, that then creates a 2v1. So then does Fernandes then go follow him? But then that creates space in the midfield. So if Cody Gakpo does decide to drop it into the midfield, because as we know, he's not a full complete striker. He's not a guy that runs in behind. He's a guy that wants to receive the ball to feet. He's great. And he's great in build-up play. And if he does decide to drop in the midfield, you've got yourself a 4v3 in the midfield. Wow. If the defender decides to follow him, then you've got a massive space for someone like McAllister to run into, so Salah can find him or Bradley can find him. Or you've got an open space there for Salah to just have one-on-one with Lindelof, and then, as we know, Salah will completely destroy Lindelof. And then, also, if Fernandes decides to drop in the midfield to maybe help out, if the centre-back decides to stay, and we decide, say, Mainoo over here decides to come and mark Gakpo, and then Fernandes comes into the midfield, then you've got yourself a 2v1 with Lindelof. And once again, if Salah's going to cause issues one-on-one with Lindelof, then I don't know how it's going to go if it's Bradley and Salah versus Lindelof. So once again, Liverpool are causing constant issues for United, and it's a complete and utter chaos. And the same with Garnacho on the right-hand side. As we saw, Rashford, if he bombs on forward, Garnacho might do the same. So it might leave some questions for Klopp. Klopp might be wary of that, but then, if Robertson does decide to come up, you got yourself another issue. Just like on the left-hand side, you got yourself Diaz one-on-one with Evans, and then you got yourself Robertson helping the attack too. So it's just all a complete mess. And those issues I just mentioned were all caused by the decision to put Marcus Rashford in an out-ball position for Manchester United. And if United are unable to get the ball to Rashford, then Liverpool will certainly punish them for it with Jurgen Klopp's elite gegenpress that he has set up in his Liverpool side. And Liverpool's midfield are elite at retrieving the ball, and this is evident with Alexis Mac Allister winning 8 out of 13 ground duels against Manchester City and Endo winning 4 out of 5. And if Elliott is to start, like Zach stated, Elliott is also an elite presser of the ball, and he will run for days and days and days. So you've got a very, very sort of engine midfield there that Liverpool have, and that is what Klopp always has had, really. He's always had an engine midfield, and this will be seen most likely against Manchester United.
And that is how Jurgen Klopp can destroy Man United this weekend by using the tactic that we came up with. Jurgen, if you're watching, deploy this tactic and watch it come to fruition. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.